Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Christie Ellis, and I'm with Keller Williams Integrity First. And today I have two guests with me, Bill Paden with Direct Mortgage Loans and Patrick McQueen, Esquire, our favorite attorney with Medalist Legal. Thank you both for being here today. Appreciate you. I just found out I'm actually paying Patrick for this time, so we're going to make it snappy.
He's charging excessive.
He's charged. Yeah, I know. I'm a big enough of a pain in his butt. I'm sure he wants to. But anyway, we've got a lot of stuff going on this past week. The stock market was ridiculous. Therefore, we see rates doing crazy ass things. And we're seeing
Mhm.
buyers and sellers losing their minds and wanting to get out of contracts. We talked a little bit about this last week. We had told you we are going to try and have Patrick here with us because legally, what are we allowed to do? Bill, share with us. I looked this morning. Last week when we had this call, rates were like 6.5. And this morning they are
7+. It's exciting.
7.
It wasn't what we wanted. Obviously, a lot of that was geared towards the tariffs, which we don't have control over. And honestly, looks like it was a temporary hurt because today it's rebounding a little bit. Hopefully that gains momentum. But what I have realized is that it's important if you're looking to refinance to have everything ready now. So that I think over the next 6, 7 months, it's going to be an up and down, and you got to catch it on the good side. So having those ready, and then for buyers, if you're under contract and it looks great, lock it.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere it was like a 24% increase year over year last week in contracts going because of the rates drop. Like people, like the fence sitters jumped, put in some
Yep.
offers because we do have inventory, which is great, right? This isn't the market where we don't have any inventory and we have low rates. You can buy what you're looking for right now. So there's opportunities for you.
And there's, like I said, especially that Home and 5 Platinum when it was around for 3 weeks, it was a great opportunity for people to get off the fence. So
Yeah.
it just shows that people are ready to purchase and the demand is built up. The floodgate is waiting just for the right time. And that's why I think right now, still buyers, a great time to get out there and get on the contract before the rush comes.
Yeah. So, Patrick, we talked a little bit last week that we may be seeing people who are looking for loopholes in real estate contracts. And I know you and I were having a discussion last week too about what's possible and what's not. What's legitimately allowable to get out of a contract, and what do you just have to kiss your earnest money goodbye if you just don't want to do it right now?
Yeah, so we actually had a couple of people approach us last week saying, "Oh my gosh, I'm losing my tail. My portfolio is down X amount. I no longer want to continue with my real estate contract," whether it was a leasing agreement, whether it was a standard form, Arizona Association of Realtors form. And they wanted to know, they asked us, do these losses in the stock market provide me the basis to say, hold on a second, I no longer have to perform. I no longer have to continue with this contract. And the answer is no. During COVID, when things were so unprecedented, we couldn't get into stores, we couldn't do certain things. It made a little bit more sense to allow people in some instances to use legal defenses to getting out of a contract. We use this defense of impracticability, meaning I don't even know where my bank is right now. I can't get this money to you, etc. I need to be able to get out of this. And it was somewhat permitted in those situations, particularly if there was language in the contract. You're not getting out of a deal on the sell side or the buy side if you've taken a stop loss, unless, unless is just, this doesn't happen, unless you somehow had a reference in your purchase and sale agreement that says, I have the ability to get out of this contract if my portfolio takes a 10% loss. That would be the only way, and I don't know
Yes,
anybody.
and no realtor worth their salt will ever put that in there and accept it as a seller's agent. So.
That's right. That's right. So it would have had to been something that the parties contemplated and put in their agreement, which again, no, nobody's putting that in their contract. Nobody's putting that in their agreements.
And the thing of it is, in the contract as well, if you were planning on taking like some liquidated assets or it's from your stocks, down payments, the lack of down payment funds is not a reason to cancel a contract. That's not a viable reason. So if you were planning on taking it out and you didn't think ahead of time and you were risking it, you're stuck with that.
Let me interject there too, is because you mentioned the loss of earnest money, and it could actually be more than that.
This is true. I apologize. You're absolutely 100%
Yeah,
right.
and I want people to know this because this is something that happens a lot. So let's say I'm the seller and I'm selling you this property, Christy, and after the inspection period is done and you have no other way to get out, right? You come to me and say, I want to get out of this contract. I don't want to buy it anymore. Here, you can just have my $5,000 earnest money or my $10,000 earnest money. Me as the seller, I have the option to say, nope, that's not a big enough amount. You can have your earnest money back. I'm actually going to sue you for damages here. And those damages can be more. So you have to be very careful if you're seeking to cancel as a buyer in these situations, because you could lose more than just your earnest money.
This is true. And something real estate agents make a mistake of is they will go to a title company and say, okay, give my client their earnest money. They're canceling this contract and the buyer's in breach. When in actuality, you stepping in as an agent is a big problem.
Yeah.
Your seller has to make that decision if they're going to sue, because now you just made the choice for them. And guess who gets sued on that side then? The real estate agent. I want to go back to something you said earlier, and I was wondering why, and maybe you have some information on this. I'm not really 100% sure. I can't figure out the reasoning for it. When we talked about COVID and we had force majeure issues, right? Like we couldn't do things because of things outside of our control. We couldn't go to signings, we couldn't do stuff. And we'll see this a lot on the East Coast where there's a hurricane coming in, no one can sign that day or something happens, right? I know commercial contracts have this in there, but us as residential agents do not have a force majeure clause in there. Is there a particular reason why, when something outside of our realm of being able to act, both parties, like, other than agreeing together, but I feel like there should be something in there because one party could potentially, that just gets messy to me. So is there a reason we wouldn't do that?
And maybe we don't have the same extent of natural disasters here in the state of Arizona as they do in other counties or other states. I don't know why there's not.
I think it's a good idea, don't you, though? Maybe I should advocate for that.
Yeah, you probably know the people that are just as well as I do, and or better. And so maybe you can petition for something like that. For me as an attorney, I don't care one way or the other. I think it's a good idea to have in there. But there's other defenses you can argue outside of force majeure, like impracticability. There's other stuff that you can do if you don't have a force majeure clause. But you're 100% in commercial deals, the force majeure clause is it's in there. And the funny part is, as an attorney who's drafted force majeure clauses for 20 some years now, we always thought it was just going to be kind of garbage, throwaway boilerplate. And then, of course, in 2020, we're like, oh my gosh, this stuff actually matters now.
We were writing them in our contracts.
Yeah.
And I know that also, and the crappy part is too, we saw this during COVID, but now I guess what brings me to mind for this is our wildfires here too. We're starting to see more of this, and it's okay. So we technically don't have natural disasters, but there are plenty of parts of the state, which a lot of people don't realize how wooded a lot of Arizona is, right? There's a lot of parts that wildfires are significant. We've had huge wildfires, 600,000 acres. It's been insane. And so for things like that, what are our options? And I know sometimes it gets a little sticky on the lending side too, right? What happens if you have a problem and now you got rate locks expiring? There's so much juggling that goes on. I almost feel like this could be something proactive we can do.
Also with lending, they will, because I'm licensed in different states that do have this clause in their contracts, and a lot of it, we will hold up a signing or closing until we at least see the property, or someone walks that property after a disaster or fire nearby, flooding.
Wow.
I had a deal in Georgia that was delayed 2 weeks because of that. And if it gets dubbed a national disaster, then you have to physically have someone go out there and walk the property, make sure it wasn't part of that flooding or didn't catch fire. So like but there's the cash deals that won't have that, but the lending side, it's pretty protected, especially. And then you got to look at insurance too. Insurance won't final bind their policy. There's a natural disaster or fire or something going on in the immediate area. So
Right.
that will hold up things as well.
Yeah, lots of fun stuff. I'm glad we do live in a state that doesn't have a lot of these happening. I'm licensed in South Carolina too. I haven't done a deal there yet, but when I was making a deal on one particular property a while ago, there was a hurricane coming in, and I'm like, what do you people do? They're like, we just sit and wait. I'm like, seriously, sense, because you don't know what's going to be open, what's not going to be open. But this is also, after working with a lot of different states and a lot of different agents, I have to say, Arizona, our contracts are so amazing. They offer so much specificity, and like, you have to buy a due diligence period in other states. Here, it's part of our contract. It's an inspection and due diligence. So you can learn about the area and you can do your home inspection. In other states, you can do your home inspection, but if you want a due diligence period, that is a non-refundable amount of money. And in the boom, when it was like 2021, it was going for $100,000. So you could cancel your contract, but no matter what, your $100,000 was gone. And these are also states that don't always have disclosure laws. For us, I think we're pretty fortunate to live in a place that really protects the buyers and the sellers. And we have to disclose things. We not only have to worry about the property, but we also get to check out the crime stats, the sex offenders living in the neighborhood, the value of your home, the square footage, all those things. So I think we're pretty lucky.
I agree with you. I think the contract that the standard form contract that is used by the Arizona Association of Realtors and most real estate agents, it's very middle of the road. And so it's not super favorable to one side over the other. Now, if I'm drafting a contract, I'm going to know which side I'm on and I'm going to protect them. And I'm going to put more stuff in there to protect them. But this one protects both parties, which makes it much easier to understand, less back and forth on the negotiations. So it's definitely a good document set, I think.
I agree. And it's always it's cut and dry. There's very little black and white. Although the one thing I think that the way a realtor interprets sometimes and the way a lawyer interprets sometimes is the difference. Right. And it's true because I've been doing this 22 years and I think I'm pretty damn good at it, right? Especially the law part of it or the legal parts of the contract. Because for those who don't know, Arizona, Article 26 of our Constitution allows realtors to act as attorneys for a real estate contract. And I spend a lot of time doing risk management and studying those things. And there are times where I'll say something and I talk to you, Pat, and you're like, no, this, and I'm like, ah, I never thought of it that way. But it's the two different ways we think. And just because we've been doing it in real estate one particular way a long time, the perfect example, the typical clause written in there, close on or before March 26, 2025. When agents write that in there, from a legal perspective, you're like, okay, what if the buyer wants to close, the seller doesn't? Are you in breach? There's so many things that an attorney will come up with. And I was like, I was just thinking everybody. And you're like, no, you have to be very specific. It's good how we can collaborate on things and work together to make them very strong contracts. But I think the Arizona Association of Realtors contract is pretty outstanding, except maybe the force majeure thing, but I can work on that. I'll see who I can talk to. I'm curious as to why it wouldn't be in there. And there may be a good reason, I just don't know it. And I'd be curious to know. But something I wanted to wrap up with today, deed fraud, because I'm sure, Pat, you've seen a lot of this stuff. Bill, I've even heard of people who have taken out loans on properties and gotten loans. And once someone takes out a loan in someone's, it's like that that mess is ridiculous. One situation was a daughter-in-law I saw took out it was a story I had heard from an agent in Arizona, took out a home equity line of credit on her father-in-law's house and became the owner of that property in some weird way. Our title companies do a great job of vetting, right? Although thieves are very creative. The AI they use, and I joke, I'm like, we need to make people do the hokey pokey because apparently AI can't get up and do something different. So if you ask them to move their hands around or turn around, they can't do it. So that's how you can figure out if it's AI or not, because they look just like this. And I mean, you can't tell. So here's some steps that I've learned for deed fraud, and you two share what you have seen as well. If you own your home in an LLC, check the Arizona Corporation Commission website. Make sure no one has taken over ownership of that LLC because you lose your property. The counties have tax title fraud alerts. So you put your information in there, and if something's happening with the title of your property or things are getting recorded, you'll get notifications. I've learned don't panic if you have a common name like Christie Ellis and they record something else. Like the first one I got, I freaked out, but it wasn't for me. It was a different Christie Ellis, but it worked. I did get information. Create a Google alert for your name, your property, for each address, a separate Google alert for every address you own, and see if it pops up on an MLS or something. That's a good way to make sure. And also, those are the most important ones I think so far.
And the alerts work. When I did a refinance a couple of years ago, my primary, the title company, loved them to death. They deeded to the wrong property by accident, which alerted my neighbor who wasn't too far away that, hey, now Bill owns your house. So it got fixed, but there is the human error as well on top of the criminals, right? Yeah. Just being smart about it, especially a vacant house, keeping an eye on it. Don't let it just sit. Don't think it's all hunky-dory. Just keep an eye on it. Those are some of the stories I've seen. They really target, unfortunately, elderly folks and vacant houses.
Yeah, very true. Pat, anything you want to add or?
No, I definitely agree with you guys. The vacant properties and the raw land seem to be the most actively taken, but You can get a good forged document and take a huge mansion as well. So it's happening on all levels, but I would say certainly with the raw land and vacant homes is definitely more. A couple of things that we typically tell people to do or suggest that people do. Number one, throw it into a different entity, convey your property to a different entity like an LLC, maybe even a trust, because there's certain documents that a title company is going to need to see and proof of authority in that LLC, proof of authority in that trust. And a lot of times that may dissuade criminals enough to say, you know what, let's pass and go to a different house where it's in their own individual names. Second thing is similar, and it would be taking out a small loan on the house, because now, number one, you're clogging up some potential equity. But number two, you're also involving a lender and a payoff. And so that's another step that they don't want to have to go through to trigger somebody saying, wait a minute, are you even the borrowers? Are you even the sellers here? And then what we've done in circumstances where those aren't really good options, sometimes we will record a document. If a client asks us to, it'll basically say, these are the conditions under which I would be ever willing to sell the property. And it's if fingerprints are taken or just some weird stuff that you record. It's like it's usually a single page document that just says these are the kind of nuanced conditions of sale that I'm willing to go through. And the criminal is going to be like, oh, this is too weird. I'm not gonna mess with this. If my buyer needs to see something, I'm not gonna mess with this one. Pass. So in addition to the things that you mentioned, Christy and Bill, I think there's a couple of other little tips and tricks that might help a little bit.
Awesome. I appreciate you all. I'm going to put everybody's contact information in the description. So if you want to reach out to anybody, I hope you don't have any legal issues, but if you do, Patrick is one of the best in the state, if not the best. He's been great to work with for the past 10 years, and Bill as well. He's a fantastic lender. So please, if you have any questions, reach out. But I appreciate you gentlemen for being here, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
See you guys.